guests here tonight, Mayor Catherine Miller, Safety Service Director Bob Benson, our Law Director John Zamoida, and our Treasurer Mark Brenner. We'll move on to, I need a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the first regular meeting dated Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, and accept them as prepared by the clerk.
Make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Mr. Beagley, second.
Second.
Mr. Carselli?
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Bayes?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Moving on to communications, we have two.
Yes. Number one, Struthers City Auditor's monthly statement of past position, revenue reports with transfers in and out, and expense transaction level reports for the month of March 2022, submitted by Christina S. Bowl, Struthers City Auditor. And number two, Mayor's report dated Monday, April 25th, 2022, submitted by Mayor Catherine Miller.
Council, I need a motion to receive and file. Mr. Bass,
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
second.
I'll second.
Lori, Ms. Greenwood?
Okay. Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Bayes?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Okay, moving on, Mayor's report.
Thank you. First, I'd like to introduce someone on my lap here today.
Hi,
Tell them what your name is.
Scarlett.
Scarlett.
Hi, Mr. Burnside.
Hi.
All right. We would like to thank Megan Shorthouse for organizing such a great Civics Day for our students, elected officials, and administrators. We were able to visit the Mahoning County Courthouse and be part of the Mahoning County Commissioners meeting this last week. Thank you to Donna Vitos, Miss Bennett, Miss Bradley, Ryan Martino, Michelle Caputo, Audrey, Holly, Nancy, and especially Commissioners Remedios Rigetti, Trafficani, and Ditzler. We want to also thank Michelle Hokinson Ray for organizing the Easter egg hunt and all of the city employees who had attended. We had a very great turnout despite the rain. And as most of you all know, my assistant Michelle Hokinson Ray has taken a job at Premier Bank. We will miss her dearly and wish her the best of luck in all her future endeavors. We will have 2015 Struthers graduate Taylor Schmidt will start in the office on Monday. We are also accepting part-time employment applications for summer help. You must be at least 18 years old to apply. Applications can be picked up in my office Monday through Friday from 8 until 4. And also a new era at Kravitz Deli will begin. We want to congratulate Struthers graduate Matthew Radoweritz from Rydar Group LLC for purchasing that business. And that is all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions or comments for the mayor? Okay, report of standing committees.
Finance and legislation for 6 o'clock on May 4th.
Okay, and I will have a zoning meeting to follow to go over the next procedures we need to go over for the Highland Avenue building. Anybody else? Okay. Anyone wishing to address council on pending legislation? Okay, we have quite a few pieces of legislation. We'll go over the first one.
Okay, number one, second reading, an ordinance of the city of, an ordinance of the council of the city of Struthers, Ohio, amending ordinance numbers 20-023, entitled an ordinance, amending ordinance number 08-016, entitled ordinance regulating the use of public and private sewers and drains, the installation and connection of building sewers, and the discharge of water and waste into the public sewer and waste treatment systems, providing penalty for violations thereof.
Council, I need to have a motion to send this to a third reading. Mr. Beagley? Second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bass?
Yes. Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Bayes?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the full-time employees pay scale ordinances. We have 12, I believe.
Yeah.
We have
Two
12 of those, and we are
through
gonna,
12.
yes.
So,
And we're gonna, and then we have, 12 also, or, a total of 20, I guess, huh?
yeah.
And then the, other half is for the part-time employees. We'll have the clerk read the headlines for each one, and we'll pass these as a group, as full-time, and then as part-time. So, just, Megan, can you?
All right. Here we go. An ordinance fixing the salaries of all elected officials of the city of Struthers, Ohio, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, repealing ordinance number 19-019 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 3, an ordinance establishing salaries for the department heads in the city of Struthers, Ohio, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, repealing ordinance number 21-040 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 4, an ordinance granting and establishing salaries for all appointees in the city of Struthers Street Department, excluding the working foreman, providing for vacations, holiday pay, and overtime for said employees, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, repealing ordinance number 21-024 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 5, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the position of mayor's executive assistant, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, providing for vacations, funeral leave for said employee, and repealing ordinance number 21-0122 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 6, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the position of clerk of council retroactive to January 1st, 2022, defining her duties, providing for compensation working schedule, and repealing ordinance number 21-023 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 7, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the position of deputy auditor retroactive to January 1st, 2022, providing for vacations, funeral leave, for said employee and repealing ordinance number 21-021 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring emergency. Number 8, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the position of secretary to the law director retroactive to January 1st, 2022, providing for vacations, funeral leave for said employee and repealing ordinance number 21-028 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 9, an ordinance granting and establishing a salary for police chief secretary retroactive to January 1st, 2022, providing for vacations, funeral leave for said employee, and repealing ordinance 21-029 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 10, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the code enforcement director in the city of Struthers, Ohio, providing for vacation and holiday pay, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, repealing ordinance number 21-027 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 11, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for full-time park caretaker laborer in the city of Struthers, Ohio, providing for vacation and holiday pay, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, repealing ordinance number 21-025, and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. And finally, number 12, an ordinance granting and establishing the salary for the building maintenance person in the city building in the city of Struthers, Ohio, providing for vacation and holiday pay, retroactive to January 1st, 2022, repealing ordinance number 21-026 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, those are the ordinances for our full-time employees. I need a motion to suspend the rules of council. Mr. Beagley, second. Ms. Bingham.
Yes. Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Bays?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Motion to pass.
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, sir. Mr. Carselli.
The only thing I didn't notice on here, Mayor, was anything from the wastewater. You know, the employees down there, are they gonna be receiving anything?
they're part of the union, so we negotiate that when we do the contracts.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Need a motion to pass as read?
Motion to pass as read.
Mr. Beagley, second. Ms. Pingley?
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Bayes?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to the part-time employees. Clerk, can you please read?
Yep, give me a sec, gotta flip 'em.
That's 13 through 20.
Yeah, 13 through 20. Number 13, an ordinance creating the position of part-time police officer in the police department and setting wages, repealing ordinance number 19-032 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 14, an ordinance granting and establishing an hourly rate for part-time paid firemen and setting the amount to be paid to part-time paid firemen for attendance at training meetings and repealing ordinance number 19-028 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 15, an ordinance creating the position of part-time civilian clerk dispatch in the police department, repealing ordinance number 19-029 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 16, an ordinance creating the position of a non-classified part-time dispatcher observer trainee, setting hours and wages for said position, and repealing ordinance number 16-055 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 17, an ordinance creating the position of part-time street laborer, authorizing the mayor to hire said persons, establishing compensation, repealing ordinance number 19-034 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 18, an ordinance creating the position of 2 part-time tax clerks in the tax office, setting the hours and wages for said positions, repealing ordinance number 20-004 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. Number 19, an ordinance creating the position of part-time driver for the van for the elderly, setting hours and wages, repealing ordinance number 19-031 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency. And finally, number 20, an ordinance creating the position of part-time laborer, authorizing the mayor to hire said persons, establishing compensation, repealing ordinance number 19-027 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Ms. Shorthouse. Good job.
Thanks. Yeah.
I feel for you, Meg. I did that last week.
Okay, council, those are the ordinances for our part-time employees. I need a motion to suspend the rules of council. Mr. Bayes,
Make a motion to suspend the rules of council, putting the ordinance up for adoption.
second. Ms. Pingley,
Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Bayes.
Yes.
Mr. Beagley.
Yes.
Mr. Burnside.
yes.
Mr. Carselli.
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood.
Yes.
Ms. Pingley.
Any questions or comments? Need a motion to pass as read.
I'll make a motion to pass as read.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Pingley,
Yes. Mr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Bayes.
Yes.
Mr. Beagley.
Yes.
Mr. Burnside.
yes.
Mr. Carselli.
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood.
Yes.
Ms. Pingley.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, council. Moving on now to unfinished business. And how about new business? Okay, report of our law director. Any questions or comments for our law director? Report of our auditor, she is not here. She left us with the statistical data that she always gives us every week.
That we love.
And today's her birthday, so happy birthday. Report of our safety service director.
I gave my report in caucus.
Any questions or comments for the safety service director? Okay. Anyone wishing to address council, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and direct everything to the chair here.
Phil Furrier, what else do I have to say? I'm sorry.
Just your name and address.
Phil
and-
Furrier, I'm the director of the CHIP grant program from Owen County. First and foremost, my apologies for the council meeting the other day that you guys were at. I fully intended to thank you. As I saw that you were there, I did not know you were going to be there as I was on Zoom, and I was signing that partnership agreement or passing that partnership agreement that allows us to get more money and do more homes. So we'll be, the application deadline is June 22nd. We're already in the works with the agreement and the basics of the grant application. We'll be looking for community input when we do this meeting coming up here in Chambers someday in the next few weeks. We'll do one in Struthers. We'll do a second one in city or in Mahoney County, and that'll suffice for the requirements of the grant. And that'll be for the application. We'll talk about what we can ask for: housing rehab, housing repair, tenant-based rental assistance. There is no home ownership, I don't believe, in this grant cycle, but we'll get input from you guys as well. There'll be a questionnaire I'll put out to you guys to get input on what you guys think that the communities need as a whole. Historically, we've gone for owner-occupant type activities, but whatever you think is necessary, especially in this community. If any of you have worked for any organizations that have things to offer to the grant, the questionnaire is going to ask for things like that, because one of the requirements of the grant is to produce a community resources guide as well. So look forward to that again. And I also would like to speak about someone that had lodged a complaint in the mayor's office. The last couple of times I was here, this person was here at the council meeting and had some complaints about projects that were done at her house. I don't know if I should name her by name, but Francine Doles, Maxine Doles on Harvey Street. She had a project done before my time as the administrator of the CHIP grant. She had a whole home rehab. Originally, she didn't get treated properly. She was out of her house for about 8 months. She did have some complaints, and we went back in and I got permission from the state to go back in, and we spent another $12,000 down there last year sometime. Cut her brand new driveway that we put in as part of the original CHIP grant, 30 inches from the house, waterproof the whole side of the house. We are not allowed to waterproof entire basements with our CHIP money, but we can do things to alleviate water pressure and water pain in that basement. So we had a well-known AK Waterworks come in, cut that driveway, dig down to the footer, do any footer repairs they needed to do, waterproof the whole driveway side of her house. And as you guys know, Harvey Street's a big hill, and all that water comes right down to her house. So we went over and above. We tested for mold. There was nothing that would lead to her breathing issues that she has in that mold report, but we did a mold treatment there anyway to alleviate any ideas of remnants of mold, mildew, spores, things like that. So we put an additional, I want to say it was $12,000+ in there to try and alleviate that situation. But we went over and above. I know she's called the mayor's office. She's called my bosses, not in this go round, but previously she's been in touch with the commissioners, and we've gone, in my estimation, we've done as much as we can do to alleviate that situation and still be within the guidelines of the state CHIP grant. So I don't know what ward that would be. If you have questions, please call me. Call my office. I have a card in the car, I believe. I forgot to bring them in, but yes, sir.
It's only because I sat in on today.
Mhm.
Was there any issues with did you guys replace windows there?
Because I came straight from home. I wish I had time to go get my file, but I came straight from home. I'm not positive exactly what was done at the house originally. I know it was all of $30,000 that was spent there. I'm not sure. The CHIP grant is designed, the rehab grant is designed to bring the house up to code. So if there were broken windows, if there were lead-based paint windows that were hazards, we would address those. We do a lead inspection risk assessment prior to writing the specs for the job, and a lot of the paint work and cutting into surfaces is dictated by what that lead inspection risk assessment says. But off the top of my head, I do not know. I can't say whether we did or didn't replace any or all of the windows, but I know that we spent a considerable amount of money that first time. I know the family put some money into the property as well, in particular in the driveway. The CHIP grant is designed to bring things up to code, not upgrade a home or remodel a home so that it's correct. We were going to do, or the CT consultant was going to do a portion of the driveway. The family wasn't happy with that. They put their own money in, about $4,000 to run the new driveway from, we were going to do in front of the garage. They wanted to carry it the rest of the way through, so they took it all the way down to the street. The rehab program is designed to do that. The repair program can be used as a precursor to the rehab program, and you can run through that one or a time or two. We've had several people that double down on that program, and at that point you get the property to the point where you could do a full rehab and still be within the guidelines. The point that she went through, the ceiling for the grant, I believe, was $52,000 or something like that. I'm sorry, it was $46,000. And that was, she was in the 2015 grant. As of the 2018 grant, or the 2020 grant, that ceiling has moved up to $64,000. But even so, if a house is in general good repair, it's tough to get to $50,000 for a rehab. We do have some, one, and I can't recall the address, that we just got put through the board a couple of weeks ago, and the contract's been signed, that went to 70 here at Struthers, 1,000. So it's good money to go into a home to bring it up to code. And if you can't do it for that, that's when we start to bring in extra money. The family can put money in. I also run the lead hazard control grant program through the county. If there's a child under the age of 6 and they're low income, I put my own money in there, or my lead money in there as well. So we braid a lot of funds together to make sure that some properties get done. It's not just here's 50,000, we stop at 50. We look for other options to make sure that we go.
You take it as far as you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's worth noting that you did petition the state again to go back and try to get her even more than what the first round was.
I did, and it was she had a legitimate. The water was building up in there. I'm not an engineer, but I brought in the people that know the ins and outs of the way water moves down through there. And as much as I didn't want to cut a brand new driveway, we cut it 30 inches back, and they dug down all the way to the footer with their machine, and they did a stand-up job. I'd recommend it to anybody. If there's any questions, feel
Is she
free.
satisfied with the job now? Why not?
Apparently, well,
No, not yet.
I don't know that she's not satisfied with that portion of the job. I think that she's still not satisfied with the original part of the job. But she had also petitioned to get at the end of the day, there's 15% of the entire grant when you do a rehab stays as a lien on the property. And I know she had petitioned Mayor Stalker before you had come to release that lien. It's there so that people don't jump in the program and then receive the benefits and then sell the home, as it has an increased value.
What's the time, isn't it like a 5-year or 10-year?
It decreases 17% a year for 5 years, and that 15% stays on the property in perpetuity until the deed is, the house is sold or transferred. Then that comes back into whatever is the said community. And as a matter of fact, you guys have, it's called program income at that point. You guys have about $4,500 in program income that we'll be putting into this large rehab that we'll be doing down here shortly. So it's first in, first out. So if you have program income on the books, that first job that we do, I will bill Ms. Pohl, and she will write us a check, and we put that right into the property first and foremost before we spend any of the CHIP funds. The county, at the time of application, we had about $35,000 all told between the three of us. We had 56,000, I think, like that, something like that. So it's first in, first out, and it has to go towards projects that we would normally do with CHIP grant funds. So it's not just fly by the seat of our pants, decide what we want to do. There's standards that we have to abide by. We had our review for our 2018 CHIP grant 3 weeks ago. The state was here. We went to several properties over here. I know Mr. Havelo. We went to several properties over here. We had no major findings. A couple years ago, some of you may remember, the Struthers grant got cut in half because of some things that were done, and it resulted in a major finding. We had no major findings. We had 2 or 3 minor things. We have to go back out and repair a few things, but we will not be in jeopardy of getting cut in half in any way. It would be Mahoney County's portion, but and truth be told, I spent a little more money in Campbell and Struthers than I did in Mahoney County, even though the cities are both eligible for $300,000 in the partnership, and the county's eligible for $400,000. I had a boatload of applications in Campbell. I had ample applications in Struthers, and I had a few less in Mahoney County. But when it came down to it, when I had the opportunity to do a few more projects, I went to where the applications already were, and that was Campbell and Struthers. So I originally, I can't remember which grant cycle it was that we were involved, all of us together, and you guys were cut in half, and then the following time Campbell was cut in half. But this time we'll be getting the full Monty of $1 million, like as
That's
we
when
did
we
in
had our
2020.
individual things, correct? And then we
Yeah, I
we
think
formed a group that
when we formed the partnership is when I think you guys got cut in half, and CT was still running it. I took my money and ran it myself, and as a result of that, they made a rule that says you can't. It has to be run by one person. I wanted to be in charge of the money that Mahoney County had, so I asked for it. I took it and I did it. And then when they came to review that grant, they were kind of surprised that we had run it separately. CT had run Campbell and Struthers, and it was under Campbell at that point. They were surprised that had happened, and they've since put some rules in there saying that only one entity can run the project. So, we fully intend to apply and get the new million bucks and go again in. It should be in by the end of the year. The cycle, they expanded. It used to be just 2 years. Now it was 2 years and 3 months. And it's the application period usually would be due next week. It's not due till June 22nd. So everything's pushed back as a result of the virus and things like that. But we will put that money to good use. And the 2020 grant is now rolling out. A lot of projects are behind as a result of the availability of materials, and windows especially are about 3 to 4 months out from order. So we had some delays in that, but we will be done by next March 23rd, I think it is, ends this one, and we'll already be into the next one. So I think there's 83 counties in the state, 88. And we are in the minority of, or in the majority of programs that are producing units. There's not a whole lot of communities that are producing units at this point, just because of the delays and some other things. But we are producing units, and we will spend that full $1 million, $1,056 something, whatever the numbers relate to. But if you guys have questions or constituents, I know I've seen Mr. Carcelli out in the neighborhood at some constituents' houses that we've done. I don't know any other large complaints that we've had. Anything that we have a workmanship period of 1 year that we make the contractor go back, and beyond that, even in this review, I have 2 places I have to send contractors back to. So I have to spend program income funds to do that. There were some things that just didn't live up to the standard. They weren't up to snuff, and we have to go back and fix those too. So You know, we look out for what we do, so we don't have to go back and spend money that we don't have, that we have to scrounge around. So, you know, anyone that has questions, feel free to call my office. I'm with the county, Healthy Homes, and Phil Puryear's my name. So,
Anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to say something. I've worked with you a few years on the CHIP program. This is probably my 5th year here, but it's a very important program, and it's a huge asset to the city. And from everything that I've seen, we're happy to have you here and happy to have you doing it again and again.
I appreciate it. I have my good days and my bad days. Hopefully more good than bad, but
Yeah, the CHIP program's been a good program for us, and since you've taken it over, it's been even better. So you've done a good job with your due diligence and taking care of business.
I much appreciate that. I really truly do. It's been a pleasure to do it with you guys, first of all, and I used to have that initial kickoff meeting. Initially, I did it so I could introduce myself to you guys. You didn't think I was just running around trying to get $1 billion. And I felt like we have a handle on the situation, and you guys know me well enough. And I apologize for the new folks that I had never met. I should come around more, and I intended to do that, but it didn't happen over the course of COVID and things like that. But I really do appreciate you guys supporting the partnership agreement and all that.
I just want to thank you for the great job you do with the CHIP program.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. It's as you can see, it can be interesting. It can definitely be interesting. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Anybody else wishing to address council? Okay. Before we adjourn, we have a zoning and we have finance and legislation meeting at 6 o'clock on May 4th, 2020, and zoning to follow. And don't forget about June 4th, Struthers Cleanup Day at 8 o'clock. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved,
Mr. Marcelli, second.
Second.
Ms. Ping.
Okay, wait, who first that? Sorry.
Mr. Marcelli.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Malik?
Yes.
Mr. Bays?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yeah.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.